Farrakhan. So in speaking about that, some of the abilities that we are talking about when we say tuning in, it absolutely is connected to how we are reared, how we are protected, and if we're put in a certain environment where we can allow those abilities come through. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that some of our people were born with the gift of prophecy, and others would have to work at it through intense study. Sister Allison, you and I spoke, of course, a lot, and you and I met at Sister Kava's home vision board, New Year's vision board party that she had. And in that setting, we found that we both had a similar ability, and something that we didn't really talk about inside of our nation, because who do you talk about it with other than Mother Tynetta, right? Or Brother Jabril. And so we thank Allah for both of them. But my upbringing in the nation, 1994, I came into the teaching at age 16, studying the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but did not register until I was maybe 21 years old. It was it was definitely 1994, so it's been 26 years now. But coming in and through those years, being able to really zone in on Brother Jabril's words in the final call, Mother Tanetta's words, and then meeting him 1995 when we were opening the Salam restaurant, having to go to the palace for the first time and actually being able to physically see him and give him some material. At that point, it took maybe a year later before we connected again. And that connection has lasted throughout the 26 years of me being in the Nation of Islam. So most of you know me as Sister Latanja Muhammad, former editor-in-chief. I'm not editor-in-chief, I'm giving myself Brother Richard's post, but former editorial assistant of the final call, but also you may know me from the introduction to Closing the Gap. Also on the back of Is It Possible the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is Physically Alive, you'll see my commentary underneath Minister Farrakhan's words. So we've had a very close relationship over the years, and he and Minister Ishmael Muhammad, absolutely growing up inside of Mas Mariam, were absolutely two very influential brothers in my life in reference to my growth and development. And so one of the things that I was sharing with you, Sister Allison, was that Brother Jabril used to practice with me tuning in. He would say to me, Sister, I'm going to send you a thought, and I want you to call me back in 10 minutes and let me know what you got. And so we would do this periodically. He would also do this in reference to his, and a lot of times in the beginning I was off, but, or near correct. But then he would do this also with his writings. And so he got to a point where he would not send his articles to the final call without me reading them. And so he'd say, I want you to read my next article and call me back and tell me what you see. Not what you read, but what you see. And so I would do that, and he'd call him back. He says, okay, read it again. I do it, call him back. He said, okay, read it again. Call him back a third time. And so he said, you're pretty near correct. And so he would do this with me. And then eventually what happened was, on the first read, he called one, he said, did you read the article? I said, yes, sir. What did you see? I said, this article is a military move. And he said, excuse my language, he said, damn, this sister peeped me. And I said, he said, and I got it right away. And so what he was doing, as I realize now over the years, what he was doing was putting the mind, linking my mind up with his mind, and his mind linked up with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which was linking me in a very specific way. So as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told Minister Farrakhan that, brother, I want your mind. And me meaning I want your mind to link up with my mind so that my thoughts are your thoughts, and that your thoughts and your ways are my ways. And so this was happening throughout my development in the nation. I also was doing meditation. I'm trained in several different forms of meditation, transcendental, mindfulness, etc. But I was doing that all along since 1995. And in 2005, I was on the line with Brother Jabril, and he was talking as he talks for a long, long time. Whenever you may get like, he talks for an hour and then asks you, what do you think? And I'm like, okay, kind of zoned out a little bit. And I was looking at some mansions in Chicago, and I was thinking, man, how can I get one of these mansions? And I hear from my right ear the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's voice. And he says, ask me. And I sit up in the bed because I know there's nobody else in the house. And I was about to say, did I just hear what I thought I heard? And he says it again, ask me for the house. So I tell Brother Jabril, do you know what just happened? Da, da, da. And he was very calm. And he said, where is the houses that you're looking at? I said, well, they're all over the city of Chicago. Some are on the Gold Coast, etc. He said in I forget the exact date, 60 something, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the believers would inherit the Gold Coast. He said, so what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to get off the phone and I'm going to say the prayer that the minister told us to say, that if we wanted anything to ask Master Muhammad in the name of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so I did. This was 2005. We were headed into the 10th anniversary of the Million Man March and that whole Millions More Movement piece. I was working as the entertainment coordinator for the march. And I was getting ready to bring Kanye West to the mosque. I had created this was when Kanye won the Grammys for the Jesus Walks. And I had created a 2005 Million Man March Image Award for Kanye West. And we had given it to him that Savior's Day, but he wasn't able to physically come. So we just shot a video for that. And then, but I held on to the award because I knew Kanye would be coming to the mosque and we would be able to have a whole experience with that. So before you saw the picture with Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, Allah has used your sister 10 years before that to bring Kanye to the mosque. And so we did do that and we were getting ready for that. But inside of that, Mother Tynetta and I were at the final call the next day. And she said, could you go and grab something off of the fax machine and then when I go over there, I had forgot totally about the experience that I had had. And I went over to the fax machine at the final call, and there was a flyer that said, the family of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is selling the mansion. And so immediately everything comes back to me, what had happened 3 weeks before that. And I was ecstatic. So to make a long story short, so much happened. This ended up being one of the mansions that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad built for his children. It actually was the home of Sister Ethel Muhammad and Brother Raymond Sharif, the former Supreme Captain. And it's the house, if you've ever been to the palace, it's the home that's directly across the street from the palace. And so there were so many things that happened in reference to that. And then for me to, and I didn't even know anything about the house, and that it definitely not that it was up for sale. And so there was a series of things that happened. And when I said, oh my goodness, does this really mean that there was this was a real communication here? And from that, there was total guidance. So I would go back into a meditative state. I would ask a question. I said, how am I going to get the money to get the house? And he would say, the money is in the house. We found out as we kept going, I just kept going, and we found out that there was equity in the home, and that the sisters that owned it, which was Brother Raymond Sharif's and Sister Ethel's daughters, that the house was in a pre-foreclosure. And at that time, I didn't know about real estate, but I didn't understand that you could pull equity and you could give them a short sale or whatever, you can broker a deal. So it meant the money was in the house as far as equity. The family, making a long story short, so much happened. I went into that home. When I sat down with the real estate broker, I sat inside. It was like you were going into a time warp, because as soon as you closed the door, it was like you were in 1972, because everything in the house was still very similar to how it was in 1972. The furniture, the lights, everything. And then I sit onto like there was a great room, and I sit onto I guess it was like a built-in um, couch. It was built into the wall, for lack of a better word, and it had marble and then sconces over there. And when I sat down, all of the lights started to flicker, and I was like, the woman did not know my experience, but she stretched her eyes as well and was like, that's just probably a what do you call it? She said that's probably a shortage inside of the lighting. I said, okay, but I'm still going through what I'm going through in my mind. Make a long story short, on October the 7th, I got the message back from the family that when we offered them 800, they wanted $1.2 million. I didn't have 1.2 pennies, but at that time I was just moving on the faith and what had happened. And then they called me on October the 7th and said that the family was upset that I knew that there was a foreclosure situation. They were like, no, there's no foreclosure. And I was devastated that they had, denied the offer, because I was sure it was going to go through. From that, I'm in the room crying, and I speak out to the unbelieved mom. Why did you do this? Like, how could you tell me to do this? I followed everything you said. And I hear his voice again, and he said, I never told you it was that house. I just wanted you to know it was indeed me. And when he said that, my tears just dried up. And I said, okay, this is for something in the future. Brother Jabril was with me the entire time. He probably was the only person who I chronicled everything with. So that was 2005. I began going to a center in Chicago to understand what was happening. How was I able to communicate? And sure enough, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, that the Caucasians would be really studying very hard to be able to tune in. This whole center that they had where you train on these abilities. And so I began 2 classes on energy. Everything is frequency. And so those classes began me understanding what was happening when it comes to consciousness creating and activating the neurons in the brain, which activates mind. And so when you are, as we talked about love, Sister Allison, the more you love, the more you are able to have the intuition. A sister mentioned it yesterday. Women have it already. We pick up on our children, we pick up on our husbands, we pick up on information. But the issue is we have not been supported. It has not been supported in Western society about these abilities. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said in 1972, Theology of Time, he was speaking on Jesus being taught the ability to tune in. He said specifically that within 30 years from 1972, some of our people would have this ability. When Brother Jabril sent me and Brother Cedric the letter asking us to help with closing the gap, he put that in the letter. And at that time, I was like, I don't understand why is he putting this in the letter? It has, of course, none of these experiences had happened yet. And so I began learning about the energy center. Everything is energy at an atom level. We are more energy than we are physical matter. And our bodies, the human energy field, our body projects an energy field. It is 5 layers. Our body is the first layer, which is more dense. And then we have 4 other layers, which is considered the aura. In modern science now, they call it the biofield, okay? The field of energy around the body. It shows up, that field of energy and those 4 layers they consist of what we know as chakras. In the Indian Sanskrit, chakra means wheel. It's a line of energy that goes along the body, starting from the crown of the head down to the base of the spinal cord. And those energy centers affect different aspects of life, survival, love, ability to speak your truth, have your truth, but there's also a physical component to those energy centers. The physical components is our endocrine system, the pituitary and the pineal gland, the thyroid and the throat chakra. The heart chakra deals with the thymus gland. That thymus gland has been attacked recently because we're dealing with so much when you talk about the immune system. The thymus gland helps to produce white blood cells, which helps to fight off bacteria and fight off viruses. And so throughout the body, you're not only dealing with energy, but you're dealing with energy that manifests itself in a physical form. So what is thought? Okay, thought is a wave. And when the thought drops down into a particle, it becomes matter. So we're taught that thought travels 24 billion miles per second at some point. And Mother Tynetta talked about how do we go, how is life beyond the grave? How is life beyond the physical body? It lives with the living through thought. And so this had been happening. This is 2005. I'm starting to study. I'm starting to learn how to detect my energy and somebody else's energy. I'm learning how to move energy as well. They wanted me to go further because they're like, you're very gifted. You need to, learn how to protect yourself. And I'm like, I'm not ready to see anything because like you, Sister Allison, my mother was born with what they call the veil over the face. And people who are born with that, it's called extrasensory perception or ESP, which means that you're just extra sensitive, already wired. We already are wired. All of us are. Some of us are denser due to traumas that we've experienced, due to diet, due to things that we encounter. We're a little denser, but we all have the ability. So I did not go through that. But 4 years later, 2009, at the cuffs of me getting ready to work with Michael Jackson, on the eve of Michael Jackson's death, the night before, I'm on the phone with the brothers who were a part of the team and that were at the home that day. And they were talking about plan for Michael Jackson. All of my life, as we talked about a little bit yesterday, my love for Michael Jackson. All of my life knowing I would work with Michael Jackson one day. This is just something I would say within myself. Of course, you don't tell people, you think you're crazy, you're gonna work with Michael Jackson. Okay, so I'm thinking my life, and then the month before his death, I get the call about Michael wanting to have a marketing campaign. And so the brother called me saying that one of the brothers on the team wanted him to work on this project and he wanted me to put together the concept. So we did. We didn't hear anything. I was living in New York at the time. And we didn't hear, and I said, what's happening with Michael? And he said, well, there's some changes inside of Michael's camp. There's some new management, etc. And then from there, he said, let's see. So the night before, that week of, Michael saw the campaign that I put together with the brother, and there were some changes that he made. But the night before, there was a call that happened. And on the call, the brothers weren't talking about anything that would have made me sick, physically sick. I got physically ill listening to the call. I could not continue the call and I got off. And I said, something is seriously wrong here. The brother was like, "What are you talking about? You know, you're getting emotional." Da, 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 da. I said, "No, no, no, no. I'm gonna go to sleep because I had the experience with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in 2005. I said, I'm gonna go to sleep, and when I wake up, I will find. You know, I will. It will. My spirit will tell me what it is." And that morning, sure enough, I told them there was something extremely wrong inside of Michael's camp, and I was not going forward with it. And I said, no, Michael Jackson needs me now more than I need him. And so we got off. They cursed me out, said, "You're crazy, blah, blah, blah." Sure enough, later on that day, the King of Pop was dead. He actually had died moments after I had the phone call and saying what we said as we looked at the police report. So how does that happen? How do you pick up? Of course, at that time, I could not determine what I was, since I could not decipher what I was sensing. And I went home and then went back to that center and began a full-fledged training on these abilities for over a year, and worked with their top people there. This was right during the time the minister put us on Scientology and Dianetics. And actually, when you're doing these types of session, which people call readings, you are actually, the whole purpose is to clear the person of the energetic block. So I began to not only see what was happening, feel what was happening, but I began to see what was happening inside of their energetic field and how to clear that. And mind you, shortly after, many family members of Michael Jackson started showing up in my life, everyone from his father to Marlon to Tito. I ended up on the Jackson's family show. And there's just been a continual relationship there, not knowing that Michael was dealing with a woman named June Gatlin, who has these abilities as well prior to his death. And she was working with him on a spiritual level to try to help protect him. She's also done sessions with the minister as well. So now, how does that happen? Now, from this experience with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad took us all the way to took me all the way to integrative medicine, because what I realized was that the years of meditation that I was doing after being able to lower the brain waves down from beta to alpha to theta, these brainwave states are the states that control intuition, that control empath. We are empathetic by our genetic makeup. We have a set of neurons in the brain called mirror neurons. Those mirror neurons basically allow us to be able to sense and feel what someone else is going through, even though they are millions or thousands of miles away from us, right? So it's actually in our brain. And the more you love a person, the easier it is for you to feel. Women know this all the time because we do it all the time, but not knowing what we're doing. So the love that I had for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the love that I had for Michael Jackson, made it easy for me to be able to tune in and then feel, etc., and then also begin to process that. So I gained, and it took me all the way to the Feinberg School of Medicine in Chicago at Northwestern. Northwestern is the hospital that did the surgery on the minister. This is one of the finest institutes in the country. And I beat out medical students for a position as a research assistant at the Feinberg School of Medicine because of these abilities and because of what happened with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that I started training, etc., learning how does these techniques affect oncology patients. So patients that would be receiving,
Iman, one moment.
Chiropractic, sure.
Because I want to make sure that I'm not losing anybody and everybody actually sees how this is tied into what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Address what, as you're going into healing, well, first let me ask this question. Is there anybody else on the panel who has had any of these experiences because as we're talking, I want to make sure that everybody is participating, that they don't be scared Don't be scared.
It's okay.
Which is why I'm really happy, and I wanted Sister Iman to go over the technical aspect of it, because we have a
Mhm.
tendency, especially now in our nation, this is a part of the teaching that a lot of us have not really gotten a chance to explore. We're very
Mhm.
concrete, actual fact, and we think on production. Things have to be a certain way, and yes, they do. But the spiritual aspect that fuels that, and so actually getting into that aspect, and so people understand that it's not anything spooky in the time frame that she shared, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad mentioned, that this is the time where
This
all
is
the
it.
gifts would turn on.
Mhm.
And so you
Mhm.
need to know that there is a place for you within
Mhm.
our Nation of Islam. I think it's a little bit more accepted in the church. I know when I was in the church when I was younger, it was more acceptable. So it's
Mm.
nothing to speak tongues. It's nothing to have dreams. It's nothing to, that's a part of it. But
Mhm.
I know for me in our nation, I felt very out of place. I
Oh
mean,
yes.
very out of place, and have had people call me spooky and, oh no, she's kind of really, really out there, which kind of made me back up, because now I have this nation that I want to be a part of, but it seems like I have to shut down a part of myself to actually be accepted. So, but I will
Mhm.
share this to bring it all back home. I've studied under several different masters, and I'm very
Mhm.
thankful and grateful for that, because I needed someone to teach me how to exercise that muscle, how to tune in. It got to the point where I think
Mhm.
Mother Tynetta calls it astral travel, but to go to different places and your
Mhm.
body still be in one place. Well, I learned
Mhm.
that you have to take care of the physical body and the energy body. If you do not, and you're constantly doing spiritual work like that, it
Mhm.
breaks down the body. So the body
Absolutely.
has to be able to handle the knowledge and that energy. They call it God energy. It has to be able
Mhm.
to handle that. So I had to study with different teachers to teach me how to do that. But at
Mhm.
the end of the day, when I finished all of that teaching and understanding, it led me right back to the teachings of the Most
Absolutely.
High. It was there
Absolutely.
the whole time. It's just that I didn't understand how to apply it.
Absolutely.
And I think
Sister.
many of us don't understand how to apply it. And so we misunderstand people who have these certain gifts. But I do want
Well,
to, I want I'm going to add the brothers here, because I want to talk about the protection of Mary. But I want you to address healing. You mentioned something about healing. Can you share that?
yes. Well, the whole point is that um, from being able to, from having these experiences, not only were you able to sense, but I began to be able to see what was happening in people's bodies. So if I'm sitting with someone, a chiropractor, my first working with a chiropractor down in Atlanta, she's like, I need someone like you in my center, because when you're talking about what's happening in the body, a subluxation inside of the body, which is what chiropractors work to. When they do an adjustment, that's what they're looking for. They're called subluxation, which is basically an interruption along the spinal cord. Your spinal cord is your information highway. It's the central nervous system. Information is flowing up that spinal cord and into the brain where it gets disseminated. But if you have a subluxation, there's a break in the line of communication. Subluxations happen three ways: from a trauma, which most people go to chiropractors for when they have an accident, from toxins in your body. And the third way, which I thought was so important, was thought. A thought could cause the disruption in your whole alignment of how you actually move and think, how you feel. And so here was the first time, and she's like, can you please do what you do inside of my center? And I'm sitting with people, and now I can see, oh, well, you have cartilage in your knees that's gone, or, oh, you have, a digestive issue because your third chakra is blocked. And your mother really didn't, and it's related to the fact that your mom didn't even want to be pregnant with you. So when you have these types of things that go in, as we know, and how to give birth to a God from the minister, whatever the mother is feeling and thinking and sensing is absolutely shaping that child. And you can grow up with all of these issues and never even know what is at the root of why you're doing it. So we began doing healing from that standpoint of just being able to clear somebody, clear them, because when you point out and you find, not like, it's similar to Dianetics and Scientology, but I'm not asking them anything. I'm accessing information because I'm sharing in energy space. I'm seeing what's happening. So then from there, I began to train in what's called Reiki. Reiki is an energy-based therapy. It's hands-on. It's universal life force energy being channeled through your crown and through the hands. So this also goes back to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Minister Ishmael, Brother Jabril, I've done Reiki on Brother Jabril. I've posted the pictures on your site. As Sister Patina, I've known for so many years. I remember when Sister Patina was just studying naturopath and Brother Jabril was assisting her and everything. Dr. Patina, excuse me, Sister Dr. Patina, and Dr. Patina is a naturopath doctor. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Brother Minister Ishmael told me, it's like, he's always told me that I had this gift and this ability because I can pick up and tune in on something that was going on with him, and I hadn't even spoken to him. So he said to me, so I'm doing healing sessions on them, on Brother Rasul, different believers out of the city of Chicago. And so Reiki helps it's 7.6 hertz of energy flowing through a Reiki practitioner's hand that's going into the body. It works the endocrine system. Reiki is the most research-backed, energy-based therapy that is out, meaning clinical studies. It is done in hospitals across the country, Harvard, Johns Hopkins, Northwestern, UCLA. When I was the research assistant at the Feinberg School of Medicine, this is what we studied. You did an energy session versus a chemotherapy session. It's frequency, it's energy flowing through. And what you're doing is you're putting the body back at a state of homeostasis or calm. When the body is in calm and the mind is at calm, the body and the mind can work together and do what it naturally does, which is heal. It also reboots the immune system, especially with the thymus gland, and helping to generate new white blood cells. So it's used a lot with cancer patients. I've worked with cancer patients at the Illinois Institute of Advocate Institute for Cancer and Infusion in Chicago, doing Reiki session on cancer patients. So now I've just brought it into the University of Mississippi Medical Center in Mississippi, for their integrative center. Some of the doctors were really shocked because they were kind of standoffish about Reiki, because, in certain parts of the country, depending on where you are, it's like, oh, what is that? That's taboo, that's etc. And then even now, the Mayo Clinic is one of the best in the world. We've been talking with them about coming on board. So this healing, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, which Brother Minister Ishmael told me, that he said, I used to do this when I was a child, and my father would call me to the table when any of his guests would have a headache or wasn't feeling well. He said, I have a son who can heal with his hands. And so he would call him to the table, and Muhammad Ali or whoever it was, they had a headache. Minister Ishmael said he would put his hands on their head and take the headache away. So this is happening. This is real. This is, all of us have the ability. The Reiki is done through an attunement, and today through an attunement by a Reiki master teacher. And so I've gone to the highest level of what you would call in martial arts a sensei in Reiki. And Sister Allison, you're a Reiki master as well. and using that to help our people. We are now working more so with some of the victims of the recent traumas of the racially motivated murders, and working with their families. Who's helping them deal with the trauma? What happens after the cameras go? What happens after the protests go? What happens to that family? How do we break the patterns inside of their bodies from passing on to another generation? It's what we call generational strongholds and all of that. Things are being passed genetically. It's called the genetic entity. I think we talk about that even in Scientology, and looking at the genetic entity, being able to clear it. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, color, medicine, and music is the basis of the true religion. And we are absolutely going there. I thank Allah for the, Mother Tynetta. I thank him for Brother Jabril. I thank him for how I grew up inside of the nation with them as my, avatar teachers, if you will, and Minister Ishmael as well, because I could speak to these individuals, these believers in very clear language, and I didn't feel strange being able to know that. And even Minister Farrakhan, what do we think the more than a vision experience was? What do we think that was? The communication with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, telling him the mind of his enemies and what they were planning for not only Muammar Gaddafi, but also for black people in America. What do you think that was, and how did that happen? And let's delve deeper into that. And our whole, he said, everything he has done has been based off of that experience on the wheel. Matter of fact, the chakras are called, that's the Indian word for it, but chakras mean wheels. It means wheels, and they have colors. And what is the connection between the wheels that are in our body and the wheel and the other wheels? That the Pentagon has now come out and said what we already know is the truth. And also in recent times, inside of a health food store, the Well-Being Journal, we just saw 2 months ago, big bold letters, the CIA and remote viewing. They use this in military. The Russians were the first to use this type of technology. This is a technology, and love has everything to do with it. So this is a part of that.
The beautiful part about that, now you mentioned love has everything to do with that, because there are readers and there are people who have certain gifts who are not spiritual at all and are very limited in their love. But there's something different about the Spirit of God as it comes through a person, and that person exercising this particular ability. I think it's very interesting. Sure. Now, Iman, you went into not person to person, but even deeper, being able to receive communication from the Christ. And how that is everybody's ability to be able to do that. But as we're talking about Mary coming forth, we talked about that yesterday, about the woman being able to open herself up to the Christ. And this is a perfect segue, because she will also do that if there is a man that's there representing the Christ in her life. That's right. Absolutely. And so I really want to, since we're here, I'm going to take the questions out of order a little bit, because it seems like this is a good segue. Brother David, Brother Patrick, you've kind of listened to, and I think you all have also listened to the previous Zooms that we've had. How important is it for a woman, two things, for a woman to have a sacred space in order for her to come forth in that divine feminine? What is your part as the male masculine in securing that? I see Brother Patrick. Okay, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. One of the things, this is a beautiful session, and I've had the honor and privilege to watch part 1, part 2, and then now to be next to my wife, with part 3. And a lot of jewels, that all of you have shared. With the question that you just posed, what comes to mind, and I don't think it's a coincidence, that is in chapter 4 of the Holy Quran, entitled The Women. And it talks about that men are the maintainers of women. And it says that in the good women are obedient. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that what that means is that as long as a man is always in tune and is displaying godliness, that woman will see the God in the man. So for me and my household and me as a husband to my wife, the way I see that and pertaining to the woman being the Mary type is that I have to always be playing my role in connection to Allah, God, so that I can help maintain the environment. So I can display a peaceful environment. And, my wife and I, we've been married now going on 22 years. And not all the days are peaches and cream. Not all the days are sunny. There are cloudy days. But this is a journey. And the frequencies that I'm hearing about is that even in the midst of something negative, you're learning something about yourself, because it's positive and negative. So I'm like a scientist. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I come home sometime and I don't mix the right chemicals. And by me not mixing the right chemicals, it's an explosion. I find out, man, these chemicals don't work. Well, that's a bad scientist, Then by now I find out, okay, this is what I need to mix, and this is what I don't need to mix. And one of the things when I'm mixing for me, I notice that the more prayerful that I am, me individually, and I'm calling on the spiritual realm, the spiritual universe, my mind is not the same. And unbeknown to me, it does something to the environment, and it does something that my wife observes. Now, if I'm lacking a little bit in the prayer or something, and something irritates me real fast, and she'll be like, well, what's wrong with you? See, at that time, I can study self and be like, you know what? Did you really call on Allah? Did you really call on the higher power? I'm talking about self now. And I've noticed when I strive to stay on the I seek refuge prayer, that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that we should say it 7 times a day. And I don't think the number 7 is a coincidence in this. Just like the 6 women and the 1 man who stood with Jesus. And I noticed that it takes 20, 30 seconds to say that prayer. And so here in a 24-hour day period, what excuse do I have not to take 30 seconds times 7 to stay connected to the God of the universe? So if I'm always connected to the God of the universe through my prayer, through my thoughts and everything else, then it reflects towards my wife. And now because I'm connected to the God, this Mary here, I can help maintain her. But it's not Brother Patrick that is going to maintain her, it's Brother Patrick connecting to God. Always stay connected to God, and she won't see Brother Patrick, but she can see God through Brother Patrick if he's doing that. That's what I get out of it.
Yes, praise be to Allah. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes.
Brother David.
Yes, ma'am. First off, I want to just thank Brother Patrick for that explanation, because it was beautiful and right on time. I too make sure that I'm just constantly in prayer with my relationship, my personal relationship with the law, because I know too that clears the space or the channel for me not to be a blockage for my wife and or my children. One of the things that I learned in this quarantine time for myself has been really tuning in. I'm a musical person. And as it relates to sound, sometimes I'm really able to hear not the voice, but the tone, or not just the face, but the expression. It really helps to communicate the tone for me. And I've noticed when I'm in tune, I can hear and or feel the energy of the music or the tone that's playing in my house. So I know how to move. I know what to say and or how to say it, when I can say it, and so on and so forth.
Or you should walk back out the door.
What was that?
Or should you walk back out the door?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Take a walk. But you know, even more so, I relate a lot to an article that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan wrote about the sacredness of the female. And understanding that my wife's role to me, to Allah, I have to be clear in a sense of not to disturb the spirit of my house, you know, with a really hasty spirit, and really be open to commune with the God at any point in time. It's absolutely necessary for the peace to stay and to move throughout, so that my house grows and it is maintained and protected with the spirit of Allah. That's what I would say.
Praise be to Allah. So I'm going to ask you, Brother David, and I'm going to ask you as well, Brother Patrick, so you can be thinking about it. How do you find a balance between maintaining the woman and allowing her to move in her, the spirit in that in which Allah gave her?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I know she has a lane. She has a role, you know, and her role and her lane is not my lane or my role. I have to understand what it means to be husband. I have to understand what it means to be man, so that I can differentiate and not interfere with her role as woman, or her role as wife, or her role as entrepreneur, her role as community activist, whatever it is that she's doing. Allah gave that to her, not me.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Patrick. Now, you know, and I want to add this as well for those of you all who are listening, and I'm so glad that you all are on expressing this. And I want the viewers to really understand what I'm saying, because in my growth, you know, I had to understand that it really takes a spiritual man to maintain a woman. And so just like sometimes men have gotten it confused, because we take care of children, we rule over children. And sometimes men have gotten in this thing, well, I pay the bills, I do this, I am in charge. And it's kind of like a rule over women as if you would a child, and not another adult. So definitely go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. One of the things that came to my mind, you know, I love rap music and I like R&B. And there's a song that came to my head because, Brother David, I charge you with that for talking about music. And a song came to my mind, and there's a sister, she says in her song, "Do you see me how I see me?" And what comes to my mind is that with maintaining in the balance, all of it is about Allah. So it's about like energy fields that was being talked about. Yeah, I have my mind, but what is God's mind? So the more that I can submit to Allah, obey Allah, bow down to Him, surrender to Him, to climb into a higher frequency, then I can see that my wife is the second self of God.
Yes. Yes. Yes,
So
sir.
now that's a whole higher different frequency. And what do you mean by second self of God? I mean, so that means, this is my thinking, Allah God has 99 attributes. I was reading in the Theology of Time lecture series by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad when he was talking about the first father and how he created himself out of triple darkness. Then from the teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said the God studying himself, and out of himself created, not made, created woman. So if I want to understand how to let my mind understand this Mary, I'm talking about my wife now, coming forth, meaning like the Quran says in 94 Surah, the expansion. In order for me to observe her in that realm, I have to be in God's mind by God's permission. And there's steps to getting to it. So maintaining her in that other part that you're asking, as far as I'm concerned, is watching her second self, her nature blossom. And it's my duty and responsibility to help protect that environment. And that is the maintaining part. That's how I see it. Now, you know, the brother Patrick many years ago, you know, he was crazy as hell. I mean, you know, this is evolution. I got a long way to go, you know, but this is what I am learning. And this Mary knows about this Lazarus. So don't, you know, you understand that. So that's how I see it.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes.
Okay. So now the next questions is actually for Sister Elia and to Brother David. Now, I may know the answer to this because I am blessed to have known just a little bit about you all, but other people may not on the Zoom and on the panel. So the question was originally asked for Sister Elia, and that is, with your husband being a minister in the Nation of Islam, and in our nation, really a star among us, how do you hold your space as a woman without being overshadowed or in the shadow of his life?
Well, first let me say that being married to a student minister in the Nation of Islam is beautiful, but not so much because he's a student minister. It's because he's an FOI, right? So I would have to say 95% of our relationship is like everybody else's relationship. It's a struggle, right? And my husband, because of Allah, you know, first and foremost, chose me, and I agreed to to walk this journey in the Nation of Islam, my husband is the perfect mate for me in this journey. You know, just having a man of God, it does not matter. I mean, the post, I'm going to talk about that in a second, but just having a man of God who is someone who is submitting and striving every day he gets up to live up to that criterion along with myself, and it's the same criterion, makes it a beautiful thing. Marriage is a beautiful, beautiful constitution, right? But it's very real, okay? Being married to any man, and being married to any woman is difficult, but I'm just gonna speak on because the question was for me. Being married to any man is very difficult. So we go through the same trials and tribulations of like anybody else. Now, being married to a student minister, I would have to say that it's extra difficult. Why? Because for me, okay, let me go back. When we first got married, we was in Los Angeles, okay? And we was under Brother Malik, who used to be Minister Tony, Sister Audrey, as you know, right? So anytime we had problems, you know, early marriage, you know, early problems, all this other stuff, we would go to the mosque, or we could call Minister Tony, and, you know, everything was always handled, and we got the higher perspective on everything, and it really just helped our marriage. So then what happens later on as you go on and your husband becomes a student minister? So if there's any problems, because he is, you know, he's not 24/7 a student minister. You know, he's a man striving like everybody else, and he has faults like all of us, right? So before, it was a little bit easier because we can make that phone call. You know, or I could go to the mosque. I could be upset with him and go to the mosque, and after the meeting, I'm all over him. Oh, babe, because, you know, Brother Saad now was saying something really great, and it touched me, and I'm like, oh, my husband. You know what I'm saying? But now, if I'm acting other than myself and my husband is acting other than himself, you know, it's really hard for a student minister's wife, because when you get upset, it's hard to differentiate the man in the mission. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
The man in the post. Because why? It's so easy. You know, it takes a lot of growth, and this took me years, and I still have not mastered it 100%. But it took me a long time to really grow within myself, not to, in the midst of an argument, be like, brother minister. You know what I mean? Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, that is very difficult not to cross those lines. You know, and, you know, to accept the fact that he's my husband. Yes, this is true, but he's also my minister that was granted from the minister to be over all the believers in this region. So that's very difficult. You know, it's very difficult to be in an argument, you know, and then, you know, we are going back and forth, and then he gets a phone call from a believer, and he's the sweetest thing that can be, because why? It's not that he's being fake or phony. It's that he's able to come up out of that, his own emotions, and perform his duty to the believers, because he has an obligation, you know? So it was very difficult for me to really get to that point to understand that, you know? But overall, it's a beautiful thing. Now, as far as shadow-wise, first of all, no one is in the shadow in Allah's eyesight, not in the nation.
That's
you know what I
right.
mean? Definitely not. But I would say to any student ministers' wives out there in their early journey, it's very important that you maintain your own individuality. You know, because when you first married, most of us, at least not for me, I didn't marry someone who's a student minister already. You know what I mean? So when we got together, you know, we was having these long spiritual talks. You know, we was asking each other about, you know, how do you know, do you like this? Do you like that? What is, you know, we're trying to get to know each other, and we was really amazed at the things that both of us had, you know, to offer, right? And you don't want to lose that in your relationship. You don't want to lose that in your relationship. So yes, okay, you have to be his wife. I have to be his wife. He's a student minister. Part of my role is being a student minister's wife. And it took me a long time, and I keep saying this because there really is a lot of growth. This is a big thing. You know what I mean? And it took me a long time to understand that, oh, wow, I was actually chosen for this. You know what I mean? I didn't ask for it. I was chosen for this, to be the student minister's wife. I didn't, because I didn't marry him as a student minister. I married a regular, foot soldier. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have no intent, nothing. But when Allah gave him his gift, well, when Allah actually allowed his gift to come out at that time, I was along with it. So I was chosen to be his wife. Okay,
Absolutely.
so I get
Allah.
it. Exactly, right? So I have to help him in his role, and I have to understand my importance in his role to help him become a better man of God. So there is a certain amount of connection that you have to have with helping him in his role and being that help me. But we have to understand that we was just not born to be a student minister's wife. We were born with our own individual talents and gifts that we have to perform. Yes, we're a part of the same destiny. We're a part of the same nation. We got the same mission in mind, but the way he expresses it may be different from the way I express it. And I have to find out what my individual expression of Islam is and be comfortable with that,
Yes.
And even I would even think for a man, you're not trying to have a carbon copy. You want somebody who's in the same faith. You want somebody who's trying and to meet, to meet their meet all of their goals as far as what Allah wants for us. But who wants to look at a carbon copy? I don't. Allah didn't make us a carbon copy. So you have to be fascinating. You have to have your own growth. So when you get together, you got something to talk about and be able to relate the teachings to what your expression of Islam is. You know what I'm saying? So you can find that camaraderie. Am I saying it right, baby?
I'm telling you, I really appreciate your transparency in the whole thing, because you all are really helping a lot of people. And to everybody who's texting me, stop texting me, please. I'm going to get to the questions, but I'm getting a lot of bearing of witness and all of that. So I'm very excited about that. One thing I have to, like I said, I'm very transparent. And so I can bear witness to what you're saying. Now, anybody who knows me knows my husband is Miko Muhammad. And my husband has a very big personality. And so at some point, and he's very well known in our nation, more well known than me. So for a very long time, I used to say, I don't even think anybody knows what my name is. I'm Brother Miko's wife. And I was introduced as such, Brother Miko's wife, Brother Miko's wife, Brother Miko's wife. And so at some point, even though resisting it, because I'm like, hey, I'm Sister Allison. My name is Sister Allison. Though resisting it, fell into I am Brother Miko's wife. And so even when I wanted to do different things in business, in certain decisions that I would make, I would always have to be mindful that my husband is this. And everything that I do is reflected back on him. Now, I'm not talking about like foolishness, being wild or in a club, or just things that's really in my free-spirited personality that I really would second guess because of who my husband was. And then eventually, I don't know, I think just about everybody in our nation now knows Sister Allison. So now I'm not just Sister Allison. I'm not just Brother Miko's wife. I'm actually Sister Allison. So I just wanted to share that so the sisters understand. And the part of that I wanted to make known is I could only fall into that if I didn't have a true knowledge and understanding of who I am as a Mary, as a woman. But when you are strong in who you are, then you step forward and you are in whoever it is that you are, and you don't easily fall into the shadow of another person. And so, yeah. Oh, and let me say this, please tell me my view. I can only see Zoom. I cannot see Facebook. So let me know Sister Kava, please let me know if there are questions or anything that people would like for us to address. And then I want to hear from Brother David. Seemed like I heard a sister's voice.
Oh, it's Sister Audrey.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Just real quick, just as you were speaking, I thought it would be important to add this part to it. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. That when we talk about being a woman and being a Mary, and we know that we're the second self of God, and being able to give birth to not only a child, but give birth to ideas. But as you mentioned, being secure in ourselves, and this is important, especially for sisters, whether you're married or you're not married, and seeing beautiful couples like Sister Nair and Brother David, Sister Elia, Brother Patrick, you and your husband that I've seen at the networking conference working together. It's important that I found a man that would be supportive of me, because I knew that I love to express myself, writing and things of that nature. So that is something very important. If a sister has a man that's trying to dim her light, oh, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't go back to school, or you shouldn't do that training, and they haven't done it, that's a red flag. That's a big warning sign, and it's important. I remember Brother Jabril talking about the energy of a woman. He said, I think he was speaking in Phoenix one time, it was a lecture I listened to, where he said, if a woman is upset, and she walks into the room, you can feel it. The whole energy changes. But then when there is joy, the whole energy changes. So I just wanted to say that for sisters, whether they're married or single, how important it is for us to be secure in ourselves and finding a man who's secure. And even if he's not, helping him become more secure, because else that's going to be hell.
I'm glad that you
Yes,
you
ma'am.
brought that up, and it's a good segue to Brother David, because I want to add this before you speak, Brother David. I've had brothers to honestly say, because I've counseled them, I'm not that brother. But they were honest. I am not that brother to have my wife or my woman to outshine me. I'm not playing the supportive role. So if you could speak on that, because we know that, and this is really, you know what, this is my viewpoint, because I don't know what it is that you do, Brother David, but I know in our nation, your wife is very well known, and she's very much out front. Can you share with us and the rest of the brothers, is that something that you've always been comfortable with? Is it something you had to grow into, brought up that way? So let us hear from you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question.
Yes, sir.
It is something that I had to not grow into, but grow with. And I mean that in this sense. My wife is getting bigger. Not just in the Nation of Islam, but also around the world and in multiple communities. One of the things that I think that Allah has blessed me with a particular understanding is this. When you have a light and that light is supposed to shine, who am I to dim it and or not let Allah speak through my wife for the resurrection or the redemption of another human being? It's important for us as men to understand that it doesn't take you having to shine above a woman to shine.
Beautiful.
In my childhood, well, no, I won't say in my childhood. I'll go back as far as high school. Sister Allison, I don't know. I think it's just something that Allah has placed in me for this day. I love my wife. She is the perfect balance for me. And I think that that light is what's best to shine.
Yes.
And that's what people should see, because I think that it reflects the love of Allah. I had a young friend of mine when I was 16 years old. And he just, from talking to me, he just learned that I had principles, I had goals, I had things in life that I wanted to achieve. And I wasn't going to let anything interfere with that. And he said to me one day, he said, man, if you was younger, I want you to be with my sister. And I've had a few other brothers to tell me the same thing, just as years have gone by. But
wait a minute.
That's not to that's
What?
not to put anything on myself. I'm trying to give the example that, like Sister Elia said, I'm not in a shadow.
Mhm.
I'm shining as bright as can be.
Mhm.
Not just because I have a light, but because I'm also am a conduit for my wife's light to shine.
Mm.
Because I understand that it's not my wife. It's
Yes.
Allah. Period. There are no ifs, ands, and buts about it. For men who have that issue, I just pray for you. Because honestly, there is no way that we can implement the idea that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad left here, which is the idea of freedom, justice, and equality to shine and reign, if we have that kind of attitude. It'll never work.
Wow. Praise be to
Beautiful.
Allah. Wow. Very beautiful. Praise be to Allah. All right. I'm going to go to the next question here. Are there any questions online, Sister Kava, that you could see? Oh, and the rest of the sisters on the panel, I forgot to mention that you all have now become the host with me. So if there are any questions that you all want to pose to the brothers, or I have not thought of, that you really want the audience to know, feel free to put that out there.
We have a lot of bearing of witness, Sister Allison. I don't see any specific question, but they're bearing witness to Sister Iman and, you know, all that she said, and they're bearing witness to the brothers, and really happy to know that the feelings from the brothers that the sisters are saying, just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Praise be to Allah. Praise be to
Allahu
Allah.
Akbar.
And Sister Iman, I have a text here, and she did want me to share, but I'll give you her number later. But there's a Sister Catherine that's watching live, and she was saying, you may not remember her, but she met you in 1998, and because of talking with you, she became a medical intuitive.
Oh my goodness.
Wanted to share
Allahu
that.
Akbar. Yes,
I'll
yes.
give you her information afterwards.
Please. Thank you. Thank you, sis. Wow.
And for the brothers, let me find the other questions for you all. Well, one of them that I know.
Sister Allison, I have a question for the brother.
Okay, go ahead.
It's a little perhaps intense. So we talked about the Marys, the 6 Marys that were with Jesus at the cross, and the one brother. And so we may know that when we look at those 6 Marys, they may have been, some of them may have been married, some of them may have been single, but specifically thinking about the married ones, for example, they got there. They got to the cross. So if you were married, you got to the cross, but apparently your husband didn't make it to the cross with you, then what does that look like? Because as I spoke of yesterday when I said that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said to me personally, you know, I'm going away for 3 years. Will you wait? He said that to me. So now I'm at the cross, or another Mary is at the cross. but the husband didn't make it to the cross. So what does that woman do on her return?
Is that for the panel or for
What was the last?
That can be for the panel, but I'm specifically speaking to the brothers in general, but definitely the sisters can chime in. But just to think that, okay, I, for lack of better words, I made it to the cross. I went. Apparently, if I'm married, my husband stayed behind. So now, you know,
Oh,
time for me to return home. You know what I mean? So what does that?
Yes, sir, Brother Patrick.
Yes, you know, Sister Shala did say that Kava, that is an intense question. It brings about two things. I want to first start to answer your question to the best of my ability, by Allah's permission. It was something that when Sister Iman was talking earlier, and she says, the more you love, the more you're able to feel. And when Sister said that, what came to my mind, I believe it is in Corinthians. It talks about there is love, there is faith, there is hope, but the greatest of the three is love.
That's right.
I was blessed to speak with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan yesterday. And he was speaking about his more than a vision experience on the wheel.
come on.
And he was lining it up to the message that he's going to deliver, inshallah, July 4th. And he said, and we've heard him say this before, he says, when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad had physically departed, at that time, he thought he was dead, but he found out later through the writings of Brother Jibril and then his more than vision experience that he was not. And then he says the minister was functioning strictly on love as greater than faith. So now, to attempt to segue with your question, sister, we're in a time of separation.
That's right.
It's not going to be pretty. Separation is not just physically, we got to move here and move there, and some more wisdom or not. The first separation is in the mind.
That's right.
Yes, come on, brother.
There is a spiritual separation too.
That's right.
Otherwise, the scriptures would not say we fight not against flesh and blood, but we fight against spiritual darkness.
Come on.
So there's a spiritual separation, there's a mental separation, and there's a physical separation.
That's right.
I deemed that the physical is last.
That's right.
Allah will show us the women, the 6 women, the 1 man. He will show us in due time the manifestation of the spiritual separation.
Yes.
Then in due time, he will show us manifestation of the mental separation. We are convinced of the spiritual separation, can deny it. The mental separation can deny it. It's just a matter of time for a physical separation.
Yes.
With Jesus at that last hour, those who are not, and we used to be together, I was reading the Holy Quran today, everything happens in a gradual process. There are signs and there are signs and there are signs. What we tend to do at times is we ignore the signs.
That's right.
It doesn't mean that the signs are not real. Allah is saying, showing it to you. So now the scripture says, two will be lying in the bed.
Yeah.
Come on,
There you
brother.
go.
Like
Yes,
those-
sir.
Allah
Come
will
on.
take one and leave the other. We don't know who it's gonna be,
Right.
but we begging Allah, praying Allah. And I want to end this by saying, when Eli and I are praying, we are now doing a rotation. So today I do the salat. The next day she does the salat. And we do a rotation like this. But let me tell you, we are begging Allah. Please, Allah, be at the center of our relationship.
Yes.
See, what you pray for, the God, by his will and his permission, will give it to you.
That's right.
Surah 40, called the believer, and your Lord says, pray to me. God
Yes.
talk. I will answer you. Now I speak French and I have a Quran in French. The Quran in French don't say I might answer you. None of the translations say I'm thinking about answering you. All of them say I will answer you. So I don't know what the trial is. I don't know what's going to happen with Brother Patrick. Sister Eli don't know what's going to happen with Sister Eli. So what do? Let's hold hand. Oh Allah, please help us. So now a family that prays together, what? Stays together. So if there's a Mary, she's praying and she loves, she looks at the minister, that's my man, that's my leader, that's my teacher. Come on, honey, come pray me. Nah, I don't want to pray. Nah, I'm all right. I'm going to watch Netflix. See, that's signs.
That's right.
That there's a disconnection already. So I would say that still speak a kind word, but don't ignore the signs.
Come on. Come on.
I can add to that too, Sister Allison or Sister Kava. We got to remember when we start this journey, most of us didn't come in with a man. You know, I know for me, I came in before my husband, actually.
That's right. That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying? But when we come into this, we have to know that there's, even when you come into this and then we get married, there's no guarantee that we're going to be with that same mate for the rest of our life. That's our plan. Nobody gets married to say, you know, in 10 years, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? You plan it forever, right? So when we do this, we have to know that Allah is still in control. Everybody's not meant to be on our journey forever. What's that saying? What's the saying? What, Nye, help me out. Sometimes, what's the saying?
For a season, for a reason.
For a reason, season, and a time, right? So we don't know who is meant to walk that whole journey. Some of us as sisters, we've had a brother that brought us to the mosque, you know, and that brother, for whatever reason, brought you too, and then they left. You know what I mean? So he brought you, he was part of your journey up until that point, and then Allah removed him. We don't know who Allah is going to remove out of that. All we can do is hope and pray and try to do our part to make it in, you know?
But may I add? Lord have mercy. I gotta add this. You know how I knew as a sign that this was married for me. Before we got married, the first gift that Elijah ever gave me in Los Angeles, California, was a prayer rug. This prayer rug is the same prayer rug that I have today. She forgot about that a few years. I was like, you remember who gave me this? She was like, and I said, you gave me this prayer rug. And furthermore, she was the one, she said, do you know how to do rak'ahs? I was like, no, I do stand-up prayer, because I was like a year or two in the ranks. She printed papers with the steps for the prayer, and she gave it to me. She said, well, when you go to your house, study it and learn. So I would study it. She would wait 2 weeks later. She said, how the rak'ahs coming together. See, it's about how the connection with the Lord of the world is.
Yes, sir.
And these are some of the signs. It don't make a difference. I'm imperfect. I have pain. And my wife and I, we talked about it. We come both from a previous marriage. So there's pain you carry from the previous. So this is our second marriage. But guess what? This is the one, by Allah's permission, lasting the longest. The first one for me was 3 years, and it was about 3 years for you. And now here we are together 22 years. And we both carried over the years the pain of the past and the past. But people would look at us, they say, y'all look like brothers and sisters. Y'all look alike. Y'all this, y'all that.
Yes.
And we also are crazy alike, right? But guess what? Allah is God. And I know that the more I ask him with sincerity, it will be. But some of us will be with someone and we'll see that other person who want to do otherwise, want to drag you from your marriage away from Jesus to go back in the world. That's separation.
Yes,
I'm not trying to take me back from the dog's vomit where I came from. A man, Farrakhan, raised me from death to showing me now, like Sister Iman and all of you, how to attain high spirituality of frequency. You think you're going to bring me down in darkness? Brother,
Come
got to go.
Woo!
That's right. That's
Wow.
right.
Too.
I was about to say, I said, no, let me say
Allahu
that.
But yeah, that's it.
You
That's
see how
it.
you turn it in, Imam?
Beautiful.
Alhamdulillah.
No, this is the last one for real.
Let other people talk.
No, I am. No, because see,
This is beautiful.
This is what I'm going to do.
You see him now?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to blame all you off on what I'm about to do. Now, so, you know, Sister Allison, you brought this up, and Sister Iman and others about the gifts that Allah gives you, and then you feel out of place because other people don't understand.
Right.
Other people don't understand, and others are just outright enemies. But nevertheless, we stay with the frequency of God. I tell my wife all the time, my wife, she has certain things that I'm observing, and I'm like, wow. And there's certain things Allah will show us too. As a student minister of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I don't have this conversation often because I've tried and I made mockery of, so I just keep it to myself. But I'll say this. I was told that if you're in the ranks and you have a dream about either Master Farad Muhammad, Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, it is not a dream.
That is correct.
That's what I was told.
Yes.
That's right.
It's a vision. I am among many, because I don't know everybody, but I am among many. I have frequent dreams of the minister. The most recent one that I had, and I shared this with my wife, I was sleeping to the point where I jumped out the bed and she said, "You all right?" And I was breathing and puffing. And I said, "I was just talking with the minister." And the minister in the dream, I saw a huge conference table. I saw him at the head of the table. I saw other people in shadows. I saw hotels and everything else. And I forgot about the dream. And then Allah is my witness. Brother Minister Abdul Rahman had passed away. We traveled to Atlanta to go for his janaza. In the dream, my wife was with me. Now we at the hotel where the minister was at. We spoke with the minister invited us to come back. And then at the dinner table, my wife was sitting next to me. I had goosebumps and I tapped her and she was like, "What's going on?" I said, "All of this happening here was in the dream." So there is a level of frequency, of spirituality, of communication that we should not be making mockery of because we don't understand it.
Come on, Brother Patrick. Yes, sir.
And we are approaching a dark time that the light is gonna be our level of sensitivity, spirituality, able to communicate, able to love, able to feel, that will connect us together. So those who are the naysayers who want to say we're crazy, no, you crazy because you're
Woo!
Go ahead, see.
allow that you get there.
I love
Thank
that.
you.
Right.
That's
That's
Bear
right.
with
You know what?
Brother Minister.
Thank you
for that,
so
bear with
much
it.
for that, Brother Minister
I love
Patrick. Look, now I think Sister Naira said it yesterday. Your what did you say? Your something will make your gifts will make provisions for you. Well, I get paid very well to do what I do now, Brother Minister
Yes.
Patrick. So I'm not caring what nobody is saying. This little Muslim, and they don't care, and mostly they are not Muslim. They don't care nothing about my name being Muhammad. They have access to something that, for whatever reason, Allah allows me to tap into. And they're willing to pay big money for that, right, Iman?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you all kind of touched on it a little bit. So there's two more questions, and I want to get to this one first. And when you look at the climate of what's going on right now, and even before then, where you have the woman that has been the head of household, have the jobs, you know, she has this and that, and now we have all of the attacks on not just the men, but the women. And someone asked the question about having respect for our men that would allow the woman to continue to be in such an environment as this. I want to rephrase the question a little bit. And I want to say this, I don't know if you all have seen this picture, I've seen it on Facebook. And it's a picture of a woman and a man, and it's kind of back in slavery days. And her clothes are kind of torn off, and she's addressing the black man that's in front of her, and she's pointing at like the slave master that's off to the side. And it looks like she's, you know, she's kind of going off on this black man, like, where were you? Why didn't you protect me? And so as I thought about it, I looked at the picture a couple of times, and I'm like, first I was like, he's standing there like, okay, what you want me to do? You know, I'm a slave like you. I looked at the picture again, and it was like, almost like this sadness from being in this position. And it dawned on me, and I wanted to address it to the panel of the brothers, because I can only see it and feel it from my perspective of a woman of God, original people living amongst the enemy. My perspective. I really want to hear from you, the two of you as men, talking to the Marys, not just the women of the Nation of Islam, but our Lost Found sisters as well. Can you give us your perspective from your heart? What is it like for you?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I don't understand the question.
Yeah, repeat the
So
question.
for the man, what is it like for you to be in this day, in this time? So for example, for a woman, you may be able to say, hey, we're in this dark hour, and as Black women, we know we still live among the enemy. We have that reality and know that we live among the enemy. From a woman's point of view, that's my point of view. And all of the stress that comes with that of as a woman living among the enemy. You as a man who is my maintainer and protector, what is that like for you to live among the enemy and have your woman also with you living among the enemy? Does that make sense?
Sister Allison, I think that as you were describing the picture, I think that if we would delve into more of the emotion part of it, is like how you said, where were you? Where are you? As the man, where's my protection? I know we're both here amongst the enemy, but from the sister standpoint is like, where's my protection? You're here with me, but I am the booty. I am here in the enemy's world, in their boardroom with the job, but I really don't want to be here, but I have to be here. So where is my protection? So but that's the woman's mindset of it. So I think what we're asking is, what is your mindset as a brother? Because this is the condition that we're in.
If I may, I was asked that question a few days ago on a radio show, and the answer that came up to my mind from the teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, under the divine guidance of the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan, when I see Black men, and in particular, if we are Black men who have our mates with us and we are non-responsive, I thought about fear. And circumstances will come and manifest what's in us. And it could be where we fear something from generations. And as a result, yeah, we in the household, all right. And I'm gonna make it personal for a moment. I remember when my wife and I were first getting together. She worked for corporate America. And it was a real estate agency or so that she worked for. And she was taking care of herself. And we were in the process of getting together. We really liked each other now, so we're moving forward. And this was right about early courtship. And so I remember being a younger FOI, and I was out in the community, and at that time we had pagers. That's like a few days ago, really. And she was at her work office, and she paged me. And I remember seeing the page, I recognized the number, went, called her, and she told me that there was a Caucasian man who was making quite a bit of money. I mean, large salary. He had a lot of money. And he got in an elevator along with my wife and another coworker of hers who was another Black woman. And this Caucasian proceeded to disrespect them by making a remark pertaining to body, and he's wondering what their backside looks like. I mean, all that kind of stuff in the elevator. So now she told him not to talk to her like that, but the other Black woman, she was afraid and she didn't say anything. So my wife later paged me and tells me that information. Now, I'm one of those brothers, by God's permission, when I want to do something, I don't need to call everybody. I don't have to. Even in the post that I am, if I really want to do something and you violate my family, I'm going to go on God's spirit. And so I was with some other brothers and I said, I have to go. And they said, why? I said, I have a serious situation. I got in the car, I took off my jacket and my tie and I had my shirt, and I went to where she worked. I had a relationship, cordial, with the security officer. He allowed me to go in, and it was a huge building. And I saw her from a far distance, and she just happened to look. She saw me, and I gave her the greetings from a distance. I went up the stairs, the elevator, and I asked for the man that she told me about. And the secretary there said, do you have an appointment? I said, today I do. I sat down cordially. I was told as a FOI, you sit a certain manner. So I was very cordial. And they said, well, Mr. I don't know, Schneider, whatever, wants to see you next. I went next. Now, keep in mind, this is her job. Allah says that the devil will threaten you with poverty, loss of fruits and whatnot. So a lot of us, we're looking at some of these things and I'm afraid of this and I'm afraid of that. But when we get caught up in that fear frequency, we don't even understand how God operates. So I went in there and I told them who I was. And I said, you know that woman down there who works in the front desk? I said, that's my fiance. He said, oh, okay. I said, now I understand you made some remarks about her pertaining to her body and whatnot. I said, did you do that? And he says, well, I said, I'm just asking you a question. Did you or did you not do that? And he proceeded to stand up. Like, you don't come in here to check me. Now, we're on a Zoom call, so I'm not going to say everything I said. But I did tell him that window, he will be out of it. And I said, see, in your mind, many years ago, your ancestors disrespected my sisters. And I'm not going to allow you, as a child of your slave masters, to disrespect this black queen that is my fiance. So the next time you do that, okay, I can't say the rest of what I said, but I took a stand. But when I got out of there, we didn't know what was going to happen. They fired her. They did all of this. And we were about to get married. We were 1 month away from getting married. And I got fired. She got fired.
So no more money.
No more money coming in. What do you do, Brother Patrick, as a man? I called on God and picked up back issues, the Final Call newspaper, got bean pies on consignment. What that sister say, how she got $2,000 off of banana pudding? I know what you're talking about. I went to work and make it happen in the name of the Lord, and Allah blessed us. My wife is my witness. We had a honeymoon. We enjoyed ourselves. But the whole thing is, take a stand, man. Know who God is. Put your faith and trust in God. I don't let no devil tell me where I'm going to eat, when I'm not going to eat. You not my God. And come and not just believe in the God of Farrakhan, but know who the God of Farrakhan is. Stand strong, and our perspective would be like strong men protecting our women, our community, and we want to have that to deal with. I live in a neighborhood where sisters about to kill one another with guns and whatnot. My wife can bear you witness. She came in here one day. She said, honey, they're about to go fight and there's gun being drawn. I hurried up, went in my room, set up. I ain't called no brothers. And before I walked out, I said, Allah, bless me to go about with peace. And Allah blessed me to use peace among the sisters. And now they look at us, they say, that's our folks right there. That's our people right there. And when me and Eli are not home, they watch our neighborhood. They protect our mail. You got to take a stand.
That's right. That's right.
My perspective on it, if the black man is watching this Zoom, grow some backbones, man. And if you try to grow one, follow Farrakhan.
Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. That's right. Thank you so much for sharing that. That means Muhammad make men. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, go to NOI.org and find out when the brothers have their classes. And the sisters, if you don't know no men like that, go to NOI.org, find out when the sisters have their classes.
That's right.
And make that black man, make it his pleasure and honor to protect you. And to make
right. Sister Allison.
Yes.
Sister Allison.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to add briefly, it reminds me of I was walking with my father. He's 80. He lives with us now when my mom passed. And my father, he walks on the average, 5 days a week for a mile. So we were walking yesterday, and I told him about this call, and I asked him, one of the questions, and I said, Dad, do you remember that time when I was teaching? I started off as a high school teacher, And I told him how this student got upset with me and knocked over a desk and said he was going to do something to me. And, you know, he was removed from the classroom. And the next day when I left the school, I go into the parking lot and I see this green Cadillac. I was like, is that my dad? I look over and he had on a baseball cap and he had a bat on the front seat of his car. And I was like, Dad, what are you doing here? He said, I was just making sure you were okay. And I asked him about that yesterday. He said, oh yeah, I remember I went up there a couple times. So I didn't know, but it bears witness, you know, and I have 3 brothers, but something that I had put in Virtue some years ago about men being protectors. And I gave Minister Farrakhan an award years ago about being a protector of virtue. And a lot of our brothers, that's not being retaught, you know, that when you're growing up in a society where the songs are saying women are bees, you know, I grew up with X-Clan. You hear, you know, that type of thing in the, you know, Queens and so on and so forth. And then you have a whole generation where you don't hear the word queen, you hear the B word, you know, and it's up to us to continue teaching that the men need to be, you know, retaught that they're the original protectors. If we're the queens and every queen needs protection and we're valuable, how valuable are they that they were chosen to protect us? So they bad and we bad. I mean, bad is meaning good.
Good. That's right.
Michael Jackson bad.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I have one more question. Are we good, Sister Kavan? Nobody?
Good. We just have a lot of statements going on. We do have one question. I think it's the same sister that you're going to give the information to, Sister Iman, and she wanted to know about certain chakras.
Okay. Okay. All right. So my last question is, I guess, really for you all to give a statement of what it means to maintain and nurture a Mary during this time. Brother David and Brother Minister Patrick, if you could share with, and I know the last couple of questions I've asked is really because I have a lot of, I don't want to call it lost, or people who are not registered members of the Nation of Islam. And throughout this talk, you all really have expressed it very well as far as you knowing that it takes more than paying bills to maintain a woman in general, but it definitely takes more than just maintaining bills to maintain a righteous woman of God. So if you could give, the both of you give our brothers last statement of really what that means on maintaining a woman spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, all of that.
You know, Sister Allison, that's not a lightweight question. No, I'm just saying that to say that it'll be very lengthy, but I'm going to try to, in my understanding, just make it as understandable, but also as quick as possible. I think in this time we are living in a very spiritual moment or hour. And we're on the brink of the birth of a new civilization. The only way that this civilization can come about is through the woman, particularly the Black woman, the mother of civilization.
Yes.
Spiritually, women are just so much more in tune sometimes when it relates to the relationship with God. So as a man, for me, I think it's more important to really be able to decipher in this hour what role is necessary and when we're talking about maintenance of the spiritual, the physical, because the economy is in trouble right now. So yeah, finances may be on our mind, but two, what spiritual counterpart plays a part of that, right? So what balance do I need to bring at this particular moment, right? Brother Patrick just elated us with the fighting spirit, right? That always plays a part. Sometimes it plays a part, though, very spiritually when that fight has to come out. And that fight is necessary in the protection of her mind. But if my mind is not in check, then I'm at a loss. We really have to be working on our mind, because our mind will free the captive slave and allow the God to do and move as he should in this time through the man to maintain or help the man to maintain his wife. You know, I don't, like I said, this is a serious question, but I guess prayer is necessary. It's absolutely necessary. And I'm going to have to say this. You know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan led us to a tool. And right now in this hour, people are losing their mind.
That's right.
They scared.
That's right.
Because they don't know what tomorrow is going to bring for them.
That's right.
Their faith is shaken.
That's right.
If they even had any. And if we cannot handle and or control the environment,
That's right.
then insanity will reign
That's right.
on this planet. The tool of Dianetics and or auditing, the minister didn't make no mistake.
That's right.
That's right.
Oh, now?
Right.
Right. Say that.
He didn't make a mistake.
That's right. That's right.
And we have to be bold and courageous enough
That's right.
to say, to hell with our old mind, and really damn near it, so that we can take our rightful place in the new civilization
That's right.
and help grow and or maintain this new civilization as a man, not just as a man, but a spiritual man, one who's not afraid of what this world is bringing forth, which is destruction. That's my summary.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Powerful.
Yes, yes.
Powerful.
To that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I thank my husband so much, because every time I hear him speak, I literally melt, and I'm like sitting here like, gosh, this my husband, you know, because every single day, literally, we practice this in our relationship, that we discover each other every single day. Like, we don't strive to be comfortable where I just know him like that,
Right.
you know, or he just knows me like that. It's a process of discovery every single day. So as I'm sitting here, I'm discovering a new aspect of my husband. Not that I don't know that of him, but his expression grows differently every time I see him speak or in my company, because I'm looking for that new expression or that new birth, that new mind. And when we're talking about maintaining of the woman, but in particular with me, you know, it's really important that he understand my position as a God.
Yes.
He understands my position as the woman of God, that I don't belong to him. I belong to Almighty God himself.
Right.
And the more he respects that, the more I grow in love with him as a God and the head of this household. You know, my husband is very careful on protecting my mind. you know, making sure that I can fully express myself as his wife, as mother, but really as Sister Naira.
Yes.
You know, and that is a process that we both had to go through and grow through. But I thank God Almighty because my husband allowed me to become free in the manner that God wanted me to be free, not just for our household, but for the world.
Yes.
And I love my husband so much because God did not give him the spirit of fear, but he gave him the spirit of power and in a sound mind.
Mhm.
It takes a man with a sound mind to deal with Sister Naira.
Yeah.
You know, but I thank Allah for that because in this hour, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take partnership. We understand that we are a team.
Yes.
There's no big I's and little U's in this relationship. We understand the divine order.
Right.
There's a divine order in our relationship. We're a team. And that's what I think is going to help make strong family, strong nation, better world, new civilization coming through the Black man and Black woman, in particular, starting with the FOI MGT. We are the examples of the new people on the planet Earth if we handle our position as saviors correctly.
Yeah.
So that's all that your little sister had to say. You know,
Praise
and I
be
feel
to Allah.
secure in the company of my husband, this beautiful Black man, but I feel secure in the presence of any FOI on the planet Earth, and in particular, the Black man in general, as long as he's getting to know himself and to know the God that gave birth to him.
Yes. Praise be to Allah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Brother Minister Patrick?
Yes, ma'am. Well, Brother David said that I came from a fighting spirit, so now I'm going to come with the loving spirit. You know,
Cut. No kidding.
when someone is maintaining as a man, that means he has to keep something in existence. He has to preserve it. And he has to keep something in a specific position. And during the time frame that we've been in our chambers with this COVID-19 and studying self even deeper, for me, I found a passion that once existed in me when I was about 10 years of age, and I had lost it. And it's coming back stronger for me now during this time. And I shared it with my wife. It's the study of the mind.
Right.
So as I am studying it deeply now, it made me to take a look at my wife differently, pertaining to how to maintain her. So if I'm gonna maintain her, the best way that I have to do it is with her mind. And since she is my wife and I am her husband, I love this woman so much. There is no other one for me. This is my queen. This is my sister soldier. This is my soulmate. So now how do I, from a spiritual level, learn how to really make love to her mind?
Yes, that's right.
I'm not getting any crazy here. I know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
That's right. Yes,
And
sir.
so I have to understand her mind. I have to understand her mood. Do I always get it right? No, I don't get it all the way right because I'm also in the lab studying myself. And I realized that in order to do the best that I can to help maintain this woman of God, the key thing is for me to always seek refuge in Allah. I'm begging Allah to always seek refuge in Him, to always rely on Him, to always be in His bosom, to help me to always surrender to Him, to help me to always bow down to Him.
Yeah.
If I'm able to stay the course to do that, I will be able to see better and clearer on how to maintain her. Why? Because she could see God coming out of her husband.
Yes.
Reflecting out of her husband. So now I would be sensitive about her emotions, her state of mind. Sister Allison, she's been talking to you for some time. As a matter of fact, the other day she was on the phone with you for over 5 hours.
Yeah, right.
Not quality time away. If she's not on the phone with you for 5 hours, she's with Sister Naira for 5 hours. So that's 10 hours already gone. But guess what? When I take a peek and I see what she's engaging into, what she's learning, what she's excited about, and I come here, she don't know it, but I take about 5 peeks. I'm like, where's Elijah? And I look and she's on the phone, and yes, sister, and yes, sister, and yes, sister. And I tell myself, man, she is so happy. She's so happy. There's something she's tapping into and whatnot. So let me do the best that I can and make sure the atmosphere in the house is okay for her.
Yeah.
Because after she finished speaking with you, Sister Allison, then she's gonna go in a whole different spiritual realm, see Mars, Facebook with Naira. I mean, you know, but that's her thing. 7-day challenge and whatnot. But the beauty is I'm looking at, look at God in this. Let me support her. I got you. What do you think? Oh, that's fantastic, you know? And so now that is part of maintaining.
Right.
Then we do the mental aspect and the economic aspect and whatnot differently. Let's stay on this high frequency first.
Yes.
Everything else will fall in place. That's how I think that I could, with Allah's help, better maintain my wife.
Praise the Lord.
Beautiful.
On to that, Sister Allison.
Absolutely.
So Audrey had hit on it, and definitely Sister Naira as well. Well, concerning Brother David, but for me, none of us marries are easy. You know what I mean? We're all difficult. We're taught that the secret of God is in us, so we can be very complicated. The biggest thing for me, though, especially during this period in my life, I need my husband to be supportive, because I'm now at the point where I'm truly, Sister Iman, to get to a whole nother frequency level, in my spirituality. And, some things, he's not used to. So he got me, one minute I'm pulling out the crystals, and then I'm in meditation.
Yes.
I'm just doing all sorts of things and here and there, and I'm studying this, and then I'm trying to write a book over here. One thing I'm consistent in is being inconsistent, meaning my mind is going every which where, because I am finding that so many things are so interesting to me, especially during this period of my time. I think for a long time I've been so consumed with being a mother, to our children. Now we don't have any babies, so now it's like, okay, it's all about, what's my next half of my life? What's my next chapter? And so for my husband and I think Sister Naira was very important that you said every single day we have to relearn ourselves, because we're constantly growing. I'm not the same woman that he married, and he thought he was in love then, but I'm not that same woman. I still have some attributes, of course. I mean, definitely. But I'm now no longer in that mother role. I'm no longer in that, certain roles that I was playing with the, yeah, exactly, but I'm trying to go to a whole nother level, and because I know that it's time. So he has to relearn me and I have to relearn him, because as I'm growing, I have to look to the side and see that he's growing too. And then when we come together, then, we can, compliment one another. Thank you, honey. So
that's that brother sister thing. See how he finishes her sentences?
yeah, right. So so that's the most important thing that I need from this FOI, is support, Yeah.
Wow. Look, well, Brother Minister Patrick, now that you've met me, well, at least for about 2 hours or now, is it okay? Can I keep talking to Sister Elia?
On one condition.
Oh, let me mute this.
Not so long?
4 hours and 30 minutes now. Nah, go ahead. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. She's sharing with me, and I'm listening, and I said, oh, that's interesting. And it's what you all's conversation are about. I have to say on Zoom publicly, the way that she talks about you, Sister Naira, the way she talks about you, Sister Allison, and the rest of the sisters, but in particular the two of you, because she speaks with you the most. When she finishes the conversation with you all, she's like a little teenage girl. She is like, y'all see this, Sister Elia, but we're both silly, very silly. Once this camera go off, we're going to have a party up at here. Very silly, But she has that other side when she finished talking with y'all. She's like, hey, honey, hey, honey, hey, honey. Doing too much. And she's just very, because what she's learning, she's so excited, and she has, she's been, wow, man. Your brother went through something in the ministry, striving to help the minister, and this woman saw things in advance before it happened. I was just like, oh, well, time will tell. She said this one, that one, this one, that one, and everything she said about a year or two later, it manifested. So these conversations that she's having with y'all, that's why I'm saying this little girl, she's like, this is what part of her is. And all I want to do is just be there to support and encourage her. And I enjoy watching her talking with you all.
Praise be to Allah. Wow, wow. This has been an amazing 3 days. And I'm so grateful that you all came on. I'm so grateful that you shared energy, time, and space with me during this time. Allah, and I have to give Allah the credit because he orchestrated all of it. So I told the sisters on yesterday, my mind, I'm like a child in a candy store when I look at each one of you, really waiting to see what Allah will do with your lives and the people that you've been called to help. I'm so excited about that. Thank you so much, Brother David, Brother Minister Patrick, for coming.
Thank you. Honored.
Thank you.
Mary, come forth. It seems like we got to get together and we have to plan something else with this. So closing remarks, anybody have anything that's happening, anything that's going on? Oh, let me say this really quickly so I won't get beat up. There were questions for me that's more geared toward my work. So I did plan something for the sisters. Some things are better addressed in a very private kind of way that only us have access to it. I'm gonna post the flyer later, but our sister circle will be on the 5th, which is a Sunday, and we have Sister Aziza coming to speak with us called The Cycles of Life. So stay tuned for that. I'll send out the registration link, so we'll make sure only women are on it. I'll address those questions at that time. So, and I know Sister Naira, you and Brother David have something coming up. If you please announce that.
Absolutely. So this coming Tuesday, we are hosting a How to Receive Dianetics Processing during the quarantine time. You can get more information and get the Zoom call information at, what's our email address? repairtheblackfamily@gmail.com. You will actually be audited by the one and only Sister Naira. And so we're looking forward to helping us, just gain a better understanding, really help us to get the technology so not only you can benefit, but you can actually help someone else. You don't have to be a trained auditor to be a part of this Zoom call. And we're looking forward to serving you. So may Allah bless us all with the light of understanding to be a part as we are working, striving very hard to be a great helper to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam, and helping to repair the Black family.
That's right. Oh, I forgot. And I'll be speaking on Ladies First live. I think that's on the 23rd. So you all should see the flyer with that as well. Brother Patrick, Sister Elia, anything you all want to announce?
Well, I want to say this to all the Marys. Yeah, I want to say this to all of the Marys out there, whether you're in the nation or you're, not in the nation and you're listening. I want us to understand the seriousness of domestic violence. Please, 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 please. If you are being abused, there's verbal abuse, there's physical abuse, there's financial abuse, that is emotional abuse. That is not your purpose in life. Your purpose in life is not to be abused. Please seek help. You are a Mary, you have a greater purpose that you need to fulfill in this journey of yours. There are people who are ready to help you. Again, my number is 305-407-6752. If you have an immediate emergency, 1-800-799-7233 is the domestic violence hotline. And inshallah, we will be putting together a domestic violence and rejuvenation retreat that should be coming up soon. So we'll keep you posted on that. Thank you. And Sister Kava, I do need to talk to you too, because I know you have some experience on something as well. So thank you all so much. Marys, let's come forth. It is our time.
That's right.
cannot have a new world without you. Every last one of us. Every last one of us. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Look, before I go to Sister Audrey, Brother Minister Patrick.
I just want to say that I'm very honored. Thank you first to my wife and letting me know about this. And thank you for the invitation and being with you all. And I pray to Allah that he'll use all of us as man who are being awakened so we can get the rest of the Lazarus so they can stand with the Marys. And so in order to do that, for as far as safety is concerned for us, tune in July 4th.
Yes.
July 4th. July 4th. You want to be free? July 4th. NOI.org to listen to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We wouldn't even be having this type of this type of format were it not for that man, that lovely man, God, backed by God and his risen Christ. So all I want to say is you don't want to miss that one.
That's right.
Tune in, NOI.org.
That's right.
That's right. Brother Minister Patrick.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, watch it. Sister Elia, now call me later and tell me if Brother Minister Patrick say something about that number you just gave out on Facebook Live. Okay, I was looking at his face like this. Like, wait a minute, he didn't say nothing. Okay.
I put it on my real estate posts all the time.
That was Miko Muhammad when I started with 404. He looked at me like I had 5 heads. Like,
oh, like she'll call you.
What you got going on?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I just want to thank you and everyone on the panel. I was just telling my husband how I've had little connections with everyone. Sister Elia, she and I were in Vanguard class together.
That's right.
27. I told him, I said I had a wonderful experience in Florida with Sister Naira and her family at an event. And Sister Shava. I remember buying a strawberry plant from you in Atlanta. I was like, I need to get some plants. And Sister Allison, of course, but it's just been a beautiful experience. But real quick, the next 2 Mondays, Virtue is offering a motivation and relaxation session. And it's only about 40 minutes. It's they can log into or sign up. It's free. Virtue.eventbrite.com. Virtue.eventbrite.com. It's at 7:30 tomorrow. We do have a couple slots left, and it's just something small for sisters, their daughters, expressing themselves, and then we do a little relaxation, progressive relaxation at the end. So that's just something Virtue Magazine is offering to those who have been supporting over the years.
Praise be to Allah. When we come off quarantine, we're gonna have to get together and do a mother-daughter tea collab.
Yes, yes. From your diary, I remember.
Yes, yes, a diary for my daughters. You can get that Amazon.com or on my site, AllisonMuhammad.com. Sister Kava?
Yes, ma'am. Sister Allison, let me thank you in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I have enjoyed myself over the course of these last 3 days, and the joy did not just come because I was here as a panelist, but the joy came in knowing that a call was made for Mary to come forth, and that the call was answered not just by myself, but of all of the panel, and that we are definitely chosen to be models for the new world. I can't express that enough as being blessed to be the orientation processing sister to let you all know that they are looking to us. So that's just a microcosm of the whole world. When they say, where is Farrakhan? They're asking, where is the Nation of Islam? Where is the FOI? But we have been married, privied herself away, so we have been sheltered. We have been sheltered away, and now it's time for Mary to come forth. And so our sisters are waiting for us to come forth first. So the Holy Quran, there's a scripture that says that those who go forth first are unlike those who come behind, but they both have their reward with the Lord. And so it's time for us, the sisters of the MGT and the GCC, the Nation of Islam, to come forth first, because we have a whole nation of sisters that are coming behind. And to have the brothers on this forum gives us not only hope, but it gives us the strength to know that they're flanking us.
Yeah,
that's right.
That they're flanking us as we come forth. They're flanking us with that protection so that we can utilize our wombs, both wombs, the womb of our mind and the womb of our body, to produce God and to produce a whole new world. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. I just want to let those sisters in the Atlanta area know that if you are ready to be birthed, one thing, because the one thing I wanted to say from the minister, knowing that he said that do not disturb the dead unless you have something for them.
That's right.
We are in the time in what must be done. And if we are calling Marys to come forth, then we had better have something for them when they birth.
That's right.
And so I am so grateful. I am begging Allah. I love what Brother Patrick said in his begging of Allah. I'm begging of Allah to strengthen me, to put me in position. You know, Sister what's her name? Jay-Z, Sister Beyonce, right? Take your position, right? So we in position to take the forefront for the emerging Marys. And so I'm just grateful, I'm thankful, and that's all that I have to say at this moment.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you for mentioning that, the begging of Allah. Remember, as I mentioned last week, those who want to fast with us, we are encouraging all of the Marys to go on a fast, however many days you can do until we hear from the Christ. So that call, which was inspired actually by Sister Elia, she said she was fasting. I was like, I want to fast too. But I'm not a master faster like her. Her and Sister Naira, they going some long days. I'm going 3 days, y'all.
I'm just doing 7. My sister did 21.
It's
I'm still doing my sea mouse.
So just praise Allah.
Right. I love y'all. So please, this time as well, put it in the comments. We want to know who's joining us. And we're not just fasting. Remember, we're praying. We're going to Allah. We're asking him. We're begging him to keep our minister safe. We're begging him to intervene in our affairs and create heaven for his women. He loves us and he will do it. So in the comments, I want to hear amen. Amen. I'm fasting. Whatever it is that you can do. And if you can't physically fast from food, let it be music, whatever it is that you're fasting from. But let's do something in honor of the Christ coming out and show our gratitude and appreciation. Thank you all so much for joining in with us today. The panelists, I'll be talking to you all within the next couple of days, okay?
All right. Thank you all. Love you all.
Thank you. Love you all.
Love you all. Assalamu
alaikum.
Is Iman gone?
Yeah.
Did Sister Iman leave?
She did. She did. I'm going to call her. All right.